Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I'm super excited to do crappy makeup on one side of my face and really incredible makeup on the other, and guide you through a visual tour of what to do and what not to do. These are just my tips, and I'm gonna break down what I do to make my skin look as flawless as can be. I'm gonna put my hair back because it's professional. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is prime half of my face. A lot of people skip over this step. They think it is unnecessary, and I am someone that absolutely believes in primers. I know when I was going through like a makeup must-haves for my sister who is a nurse, her biggest complaint was not how to do like this ridiculous routine in the morning. She just wanted to know how to extend the life of her makeup. And I was like, well, are you sandwiching everything? And she's like, what does sandwiching mean? And I'm like, are you putting a primer underneath your foundation and then setting everything with a powder and a setting spray? And she's like, no, I'm just using foundation and concealer. So I think it is a pretty common mistake to skip over a primer. I really like pore minimizing primers because I have some pores in this region right here. Not very proud of them. I like to fill them in. I feel like it makes everything else look so much better. This is the new love affair right now that I cannot get enough of. This is from Smashbox. This is the Photo Finish Foundation Primer. It's oil-free, pore minimizing. I also really love the Porefessional. We've been together for a while. This is a very light whipped pore filling primer. If you don't need tons of pore filling and you want more moisturization, if you are not 100% after just pore filling and you want moisturization and a little more glide for your makeup, then something like this from Milani is great. This is the Prime Light. I like it because it's strobing, which essentially means it's a radiant primer, and this one is oil-free as well. So these are my favorites at the moment. I'm taking about this size amount and just pressing, starting on the areas where I feel like I have really crappy pores. And I kind of pull the product down a little bit to kind of spread it out, and then I like to really press. I'm just like, die pores. I have my monitor to the side, so if you see me like glancing over, like that's what I'm looking at. You can see that I have a lot more shine on this side. I don't like it. This side, much better. Going into a little foundation, because right on top of my primer, I like to go in with foundation. I'm gonna be using the Wet n Wild PhotoFocus foundation in soft beige. Now, a lot of people will take foundation directly on their face, which you can do that. That's not totally like a fail thing that you're doing. Or you can take it off the back of your hand, which I used to do for years. And then for some reason, I'd forget to wash my hand and I'd be out in public and I'd be like, oh my God, like why do I have foundation all over my hands? What I use now is so sanitary and amazing and helps your product to last a lot longer. I use a glass palette. This one is from Scott Barnes. You could use a dish, you could use just anything glass flat. Like even when I'm in hotels, I will take the little glass cups and I will flip them upside down and use them as my palette. So make sure you have a palette and then grab your foundation off of that palette. So I'm gonna take a dampened beauty blender and I'm gonna pick up some of the foundation, and I'm just going to stamp this starting in the middle of my face, and I'm gonna make sure that I blend all the way out to my ear. A lot of people mess up by not taking their foundation all the way down on the jawline, and then you see a huge demarcation, but also people forget to blend back to their ear. So make sure that you're blending in this entire region here. I kind of pull my baby hairs back a little bit so they don't get caught up in that business, and just press and dab the foundation in. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you are getting this area right in here. It is really easy to forget to put foundation or makeup right here, especially if you do your eyebrows first or your eye makeup first, which is totally fine. Just make sure when it comes to blending that you are actually focusing on blending all the different areas of your face and not just looking directly straight into the mirror. Which also means that if you have the kind of gap right here in your nose, which I do, I have such a hard time blending out this area here, you can take your fingertip, you can take a concealer brush. Right now what I'm really into is this Eco Tools sponge, and I'm gonna just press right in my nostril, basically. So the key here is to really blend out every area on the face. Don't treat it just like a flat surface. Treat it like you're gonna be seen in real life, which you are. You turn your head, the light grabs in different areas. Your face, needs to be blended into the neck and the ear. So don't just do the mask. that's a fail. On the other side of my face, I'm just gonna use my fingertips to blend the product in. There really isn't anything that wrong with doing this technique other than it just doesn't blend it as beautifully in my opinion, and you can end up using too much product. You don't have anything pulling the product away. And I'm not gonna intentionally like try to do a horrible job on this other side because I want you to see those subtle differences that you might not think that you're making, but maybe you are. There are subtle things that you might not think are a big deal, but when you are doing your makeup step by step every day, if you aren't blending things the right way, if you aren't layering makeup the right way, it'll still probably look good. But what I'm hoping to get you guys to is great makeup every day, so you know these little tricks and you have them in your back pocket to use as you're getting ready for whatever event in life you're getting ready for. This is one of my favorite tricks in the book, to take a precise eyeliner brush that is not slanted, that does not have any width to it, that is just really itty bitty. So this would be normally intended to create a line on your eye like so, to do maybe a nice little cat eye. But what I'm gonna show you is how to use this to conceal areas very specifically on your face. So I'm gonna take this concealer palette from L'Oreal. I have been really enjoying this one. I'm gonna mix the first and second shade, kind of blot off a little excess product onto my palette in front of me, and then I'm going to be able to go in to any of these areas on my face. What the F is on my face? Ruining the flawless side. Are you kidding me right now? And this is also a how to fix makeup when you mess up but you didn't intend to mess up. If you ever need like a magic eraser, just re-grab your dampened beauty blender almost every single time. If you have excess product on it, it will kind of work like your magic eraser. I'm gonna take my brush that's loaded up with concealer, and I'm going to be able to pinpoint areas on my face that I want to conceal without adding a ton of product. And then you can just take your finger and kind of blot and dab the product in. Now on the don't side, I'm just gonna take my finger into the concealer and I'm going to attempt to conceal an area that really does not require that much concealing. So I'm still gonna be able to conceal it, but you're visibly gonna see more concealer than maybe you would need to. Okay, so that kind of draws attention negatively to the face, whereas this, you are just adding that heavy pigment concealer in a pinpoint fashion right where you need it, and no one's gonna know that you have it there. Now we're gonna go straight into highlighting on the good side of the face. So I'm gonna take a little bit of my custom cover drops from CoverFX. This is in the shade, this is like a really icy one, Celestial. So we're getting really glowy up in here. I'm gonna take a little bit on my palette. I'm gonna take the same dampened beauty blender that I used, grab just a tiny bit of the product here, and I am just going to bounce this on the high points of the face. You can immediately see like a gorgeous shine. I'm gonna take the tip and kind of blend back any of the harshness toward the front of the face. Now I'm doing this underneath my concealer. I am kind of waiting to mesh everything together, and you'll see what I'm about to do. So on the other side, I am going to go in, I'm going to go into my concealer. On the other side, I'm gonna go in with concealer, and I'm gonna use a shade that is a few shades too light for me, just so you guys can see what happens if you really get carried away with the highlighting trend, which you want your concealer to be a little bit lighter than your foundation, but it doesn't need to be like 4 shades lighter. So I'm gonna go in with a much lighter concealer over here and attempt to highlight with it. Now, ideally, I would be blending this out with a beauty blender because I like the push-pull of a sponge where you are pressing product into the skin, but you are also pulling away some of the excess so it doesn't look heavy to the eye. And hitting all the highlighty points. So that side is highlighted. Not the greatest. Oh my goodness. Time for a Zevia break. This is like my obsession right now, you guys. Zevia. Why am I thinking of like the Zayo Mayo thing? Zayo later. Zevia sounds totally different. This is a ginger root beer. If you're looking for a stevia sweetened soda, oh my gosh, it's so good. What I'm gonna do on this eye now is take an Ivory concealer. This is a Lift and Firm concealer from Elizabeth Arden that I've been really into. And I am just going to go underneath the eye. I am not gonna pull the color all the way down. I'm just gonna do more of a natural highlight underneath the eye and press and pat this in with a dampened sponge. Now notice this is not as white as this concealer over on this side. It's still lighter than my foundation, but it is not gonna give me that like crazy, overly bright kind of a thing underneath the eye. I am also gonna take a bit of the excess up on the lid to prime my eyes. Now you can see how much more blended this side is, and if you want to put a little more highlighter, you can. Just layer it up, less is more. Don't start with too much, that's my secret. You know, I have a layer underneath a little bit where the concealer is, so I'm gonna take this just a little bit lower and just kind of dab just up in here in this almost like temple region. I'm also gonna take it just on the tip of the nose. Now we're gonna set everything with a little bit of powder. Powder. What kind of powder do we want to use today? I'm gonna use a Makeup Forever brush. This is the 140 Wavy, and I love the size of this. So before I go in this Covergirl powder to set my under eye area, I am actually going to take my sponge one more time. This seems a little bit excessive, but you wanna cancel out any of those creases before you set your under eye. You can either do it with a sponge or pat with your finger. Same thing with your lid. You wanna do that right before you use powder because powder is gonna seal everything in. So if you are powdering any creases, basically what you are doing is you are sealing in a crease. So you're kind of like making sure that that crease is gonna be there all day. I don't think you want that. So take those extra couple of seconds to really dab underneath the eye and then go straight into your powder. Works like a charm. And you can also do my famous alien face, where you just flatten the crap out of everything. So for this side, we're already kind of crinkled up. I'm just gonna go straight in, set in those creases. Okay, I'm gonna set the eyeshadow as well. I know that this is focusing on skin today, but if you guys want me to do a do's and don'ts on eyebrows, eyeshadow, oh gosh, we could even do false lashes, let me know. We're going to now powder both sides of the face. Now, there's nothing really major going on here except for the step afterward that I'm going to do. Like, let's just get there together. So I'm taking a large fluffy brush now and I'm going to set the face. I'm gonna try and not go on top of my highlight completely, but I am going to press powder in everywhere. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, and I'm using my Covergirl Outlast All Day Powder. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is show you how crappy it is to take liquid highlighter on top of powder. You don't want to do this. You want to layer it with a sponge and kind of dilute the product, but also you don't want to put this on top of powder. It's just gonna look too harsh. It's going to look chunky and not quite right. And a lot of people think that this is how you do it, that you finish your makeup and then you go in with a liquid highlighter. That rarely works. I have seen it done. It can work with specific kind of pressed cream products. It's not gonna be cute. Now I have a very weird highlight going on. I did not use that much product, but I feel like it just all did not want to sheer out. That's the other thing about using your fingertip with a liquid highlighter versus a sponge. A sponge is always gonna pull back product. If you saw really up close, every single piece of texture is showing up on my skin because the second you dip that highlight too low or too inward, it's gonna grab light in really awkward ways and make your skin look worse. I'm in my 30s, and if you have any fine lines or any kind of texture at all, I keep saying that, but texture, 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 or if you're younger and you have acne prone skin, you have to be really careful with highlighter. It can still look beautiful, but you wanna be mindful of how you place it on the face. The more you know. That looks like crap. I'm gonna go in and blush up both sides of the face. There's nothing crazy that I'm gonna do different from side to side. I'm just going to pull the color back a little bit on this side of the face and not apply super heavily. Like you see that I'm grabbing product very lightly. I'm not like jamming it in the palette. I am keeping the blush upward. I am not allowing it to get down here because that will drag your face down. I will show you what I mean in just a moment. Oh, you wait for it. So if I put my blush too low, you're gonna see this whole side of my face is gonna look really crazy. When people say like, put blush on the apples of your cheeks, That's serious business. Like smile and not just apples lower, but kind of fluff it up a little bit, up and out. And that's gonna be the most flattering for most face shapes. Never put your blush lower down here. And you probably wanna avoid getting it too high under the eye. So there is this kind of mid region where you really wanna flush up the cheek and almost pull back. I watch a lot of people, friends in my life who will remain nameless, who I love dearly, but I'm always watching people do their makeup and going, that's interesting. Like it doesn't look horrible, but it could look better another way. And when I see people doing this business with their blush, and just getting like really exaggerated like this, it just almost never looks good. So we can see this whole side of my face is much lower. This one is more youthful and lifted and gives you the illusion that everything is up. Now let's contour, because this is really how you can screw things up in a hurry. I'm gonna use my NARS Ita brush, and I'm actually using this Physicians Formula palette right here. Work. Work, 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 work. I'm taking the center shade right here. This has a beautiful taupe type of a shade. You don't want anything that is too gray because of course that's gonna look like you're in a Halloween costume and things are too sallow. You don't wanna go for like straight gray eyeshadow. That's not what I'm saying. But when you are contouring, you wanna create a realistic looking shadow. So if you take a bronzy, bright, orangey type of a bronzer and you're like, great, this will be excellent to contour with, it's just gonna look muddy and very unrealistic. So what I'm doing is taking this shade. I thought I would show you something that's available at the drugstore that actually works quite nicely. I'm taking the excess off of the palm of my hand. Okay, so I'm taking this and I'm gonna glide down the bridge of my nose. And I am going to build the color to how I want it to be. Now, if you want your nose to look longer, you can meet it up to your eyebrow. If you don't want your nose to look longer, don't do that. You can actually put a little bit on the tip and that will shorten things up. I tend to want my nose to look a little bit longer, so I don't do that so much. I just like creating a shadow that is realistic, that I can blend out. And I sometimes even will take my beauty blender yet again and kind of press and blend things. Don't be afraid to go back and forth with your tools. They are there to help you. I don't like to make a big stripe. That's just not my style. I don't like the overly contoured look, especially for everyday makeup. I just like creating a little bit of a shadow there. I'm gonna show you sculpting with Max Blunt. Now this can work for people. I'm not gonna say that it can't, but it is much more warm and for me it just doesn't work. So I'm gonna kind of be a little bit exaggerated with this, but I just wanna show you the difference. So you see immediately that kind of picks up red and just a little too heavy. And even when I go to kind of blend it down, it's just a little too warm. It would be even worse if it was shiny. I was prepared to do like the glittery type of a bronzer, but I don't have it in front of me. I've been thinking about this video for such a long time, and I think I could make a dedicated video with like so much information on every single part of my face. So let me know what you want to see. I'm going to finish everything up by doing my must-do step using a setting spray. Whether you pick up one from the drugstore like Milani has, a great one out right now, L'Oreal Infallible is awesome, or my favorite from Sephora at the moment is the Kat Von D Locket. Use a setting spray. It's gonna take down some of the powdery finish on your face for one and help everything blend, but it's also gonna help the hard work that you put in to last longer, including your eyeshadow. So I think that's a great thing to do at the end of your makeup routine. So I'm gonna even lock in this side because I just kind of can't avoid it. And there we have it. A 50-50 disaster. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I love you to pieces and just so much, and your comments lately have been just warming my heart, and I feel it, and I just wanted to share that with you. So I love you guys. I will see you all in tomorrow's video. Mwah.